Hi, this is your host, Nick. And today, for the next episode of Overdrive October, we have the Wannabee Beelateral Buzz by Beetronics FX. Be the best you can be. Anyways, so this is another one, I might add, of a dual circuit Klon, where we have two circuits for the ultimate dual overdrive. To start off, we have circuit 0 and circuit 1. Circuit 0 is a blues breaker inspired, and circuit 1 is Klon inspired. Now, what is really cool about this one is that they have a lot of they have a lot of different routing options inside of it, where I can put the series of blues breaker first, so if I put this to the left, that means circuit 1 will go in series to circuit 2, and if I put it to the right, circuit 1 goes into 0, and if I put it to the right, 0 goes into 1. So, and then also if it's in the middle, it goes parallel. Me personally, I like options for parallel. I do like parallel mixing a lot, because then I can get two distinct sounds working together to get a lot of good fun out of it. And besides that, each of both of the circuits have 3 types of voicings they can do in each there. So this is a very very functional style of mixer. So let's go ahead and start going through everything. So on both sides we have honey, taste, volume, and then this one controls the voices for 0, and this one controls the voices to 1. 9 volt, quiet. 9 volt power, out and in. And then of course this is the turn on 0, and this is the turn on 1. Very simple. So for the circuit 1 flavors up here, 1 is no clean blend, 2 is medium clean blend, and 3 is full clean blend. And then for circuit 0 flavors, we have 1 is a mid boost, 2 is flat, and 3 is low end. The honey on both sides is gain, taste is tone, and then volume is volume. Now, one thing I have noticed on this one so far is not as much noise over there, but if we go to, there is noise on both sides, and it's mostly gain, slightly the tone. And see, if I have no gain, and then I start going up just very slightly, there is some noise, but I would have to assume that it's because of just the sheer amount of gain that both of these can do together. Because I believe on my other one, like a lot of these, when it's having 2 circuits going into each other, or even 3, is another one that I do have. When you're stacking gain on gain on gain, it usually has a lot higher gain, so then you're going to start bringing some noise in. Especially if I go, so we'll have this side, we'll see if with switching the voices does anything. Yeah, that does a little bit, but I mean, that's not much that we can really do about that. I mean, that's just it. Like, if you have any high gain pedals, eventually noise is going to become a thing. That's just how it is, just because of all the stuff that's going to be doing there. So just to compare the tone. So let's just actually get rid of the noise real quick. So we'll say that's a good one there. So the normal tone is just. Which anyone familiar with synthesizers can tell that it is a Oberheim, specifically the TE-05. So what's fun about this is it can work in mono, and also I wanted to see what a lot of the older tones would do with something like this. So if we're going to go back to what we just did, well, the circuit on, really makes that single fatten up quite a bit, which I'd like. But I mean, what do you expect? You're putting two gains on here. But let's go ahead and do what we always do. Get everything down. We're going to keep them. We're going to start in parallel. You know, actually, let's just do one side at a time. So we'll start with circuit 0, which again, 0 is the blues breaker. And then we're going to start with voice 1, which voice 1 on circuit 0 again is the mid boost. So we'll have the volume near the middle just so we can hear things. And then we're going to start going through the taste and the honey, also known as tone and gain. And then as we do that, we're going to go through the different voices. So starting with voice 1, which is mid boost. And then on circuit 1, which is the Klon side, 1, no clean, 2, medium clean, 3, full clean. So I'm going to set this to medium clean right now, and we're going to set the other one to a low end boost. Let's have everything in the middle. little bit less in the middle for that one. I don't want any noise. So, starting with parallel. Now, Klon into blues breaker. Like I said, I personally prefer parallel, but you can see the different voicings when you're feeding one into the other. Me personally, like this is like I have a Boss LS6. I like parallel mixing just because for certain things, being able to have two distinct separate tones without interfering with each other, especially if you're doing like two super high gains like this, being able to have both of the signals together and then blending instead of stomping on each other, creating something way too high to the point it's unusable, is very useful in my opinion. So, at least that's my opinion. And you should take my opinion. It's the best one. Free. Anyways, let's go ahead and find another tone that we can work with, and then from there we will have some fun playing. And then after playing a little bit, we'll go over the points. So that was actually pretty nice. I'd like, again, just because going from, you got a little bit of reverb, a little bit of echo, because that's just what the Oberheim is for this little sort of expressive pad. But then as soon as you get this up, it really amplifies that reverb, amplifies the gain, gives it a little bit more grit, as you're hearing there. Very nice. So let's get into the point system. For the construction is solid. This is like a little bit of a big old brick. Everything's nice and textured. This is a very fancy looking pedal. I really like the texture, the shapes and all that. This is a very a very nice pedal. The knobs, while they are plastic, have a very grit to them, so that's nice. All the switches are very nice. These spin a little bit and they are clicky, but there isn't a ton of resistance to them, so it's easier to use via the finger too, so there's no issue there. So I would give it a 4. Now, just because of all the different textures and the stuff they do, I'll give it a 4.38 out of 5. And again, like I usually do if these were metal, of course, 5 out of 5, but everything else is very nice on it. Is it shaped like a Klon? No. But moving on from that, let's go ahead and talk about the sound. From every other combination that it has, I do enjoy this combination of Blues Breaker with Klon, even though it does have a little bit of noise, which can be very annoying, but even with, so let's go ahead. We have a little noise, but when playing, you don't hear it as much. It's still there. It's still present as a little bit of a nuisance, but you're not going to hear it sort of killing everything that much, especially if you're doing like more aggressive. It shouldn't appear too bad, but it is there, so it does get annoying. But again, as I said, you're combining their take on the Klon with their take on a Blues Breaker. That is 2 extremely high gain circuits that you're putting together, even in parallel, even by themselves. It is a lot of noise that's going to happen, usually. Like if you go ahead and take mostly any gain pedal and crank it to the max, you're going to hear noise, as you've seen in many of my other videos in this series. It's just how it is. But then if you want a ton of gain, that's the price you have to pay. But when a noise can start relatively sooner, I would prefer it to start later. But even so, I'm not going to harm it that much, but it is feeling a little bit more present than usual. But all the options you have, like the 3 different voicings on each, the series or parallel, and choosing those type of series, I put a lot of emphasis on that. That is a very good design. I like what they did here. Well, it's not the only combo circuit between the both of them. I would still, with the ones I've tested so far, might I add. While it's not the only Blues Breaker Klon combo out there, I like what they did with it. They make it more unique. And I like the rounding options in it too. And I like all the different things that you can do with it. So it is a more advanced one, if not a more noisy one. I'll give it a 4.75892 out of 5. So then that will equal a nice points of 4.5865284, I believe. Yeah, I'm always correct. Anyways, this has been your host, Nick. Go ahead and leave a comment on what you think about this type of mixture of a circuit, as any comments are appreciated, or what you think about the different types of Klons in general. I would like to hear everyone's thoughts on these, just because I want to know how other people are enjoying the series or liking the different types of clones I am managing to dig up and clone adjacents like this. Go ahead and like the video also, as it does help the reach within the algorithm. And share the video around with anyone that you would think that would enjoy synthesizers working with this type of series, as I do appreciate every view. And if you're not subscribed, Please subscribe, as it does also help the growth of the channel as we are continuing this series well into the next year with the amount of pedals I still have left to review. Along with many other videos in between, including music that I am working on, and I would appreciate that. So, once again, this has been your host, Nick. Thanks for watching. Bye.